June 1st, College Baseball Picks on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network of the College Baseball Experience is brought to you by Edge Boost, the bank account that is built for bettors. You can sign up today at edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN and get a $25 deposit bonus. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the College Baseball Experience, and it is moving day. What's going on? My name is Noah Bieniek. I welcome you all back in. The first two episodes of this weekend have performed tremendously. I appreciate all the attention that everybody has given this sport. First off, it is continuing to grow as a sport. This platform continues to grow with it. I know it's college basketball first, college football first, and college baseball is kind of my thing. And you guys have helped me grow credibility very much, and we are not close to being done. I plan on being on the road for this postseason, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Yesterday, however, on the specific betting point of view, it wasn't super fun. 2-6 and 1 on the 9 bets we placed. I feel like I don't normally do this in recapping a lot of episodes, but the Fairfield pick was garbage, but they were competitive for the first 7 innings. Their starting pitcher threw well. Once he was removed, Florida just dressed up that score and completely destroyed the Stags. That's going to happen when you're talking about SEC depth compared to MAAC depth. The Gators showed up to play. I bet on them not doing that, and they bounced back really well. Wright State and East Tennessee State, man, that should have covered. There were 7 runs in the first 2 innings. I had the over 12. It pushes, which is brutal. Southern Miss was one of the wins there. Picked them out right over Alabama. Kind of luck boxed that one as they came back to win in that game. Cincinnati plus 3.5 was also rough. Second and third, nobody out, and they could not score in the 9th inning there. Marcus Phillips, I handicapped against him, thinking that Cincinnati would be able to have their way in a matchup, and they did not. Marcus Phillips all season long had been giving up stolen bases left and right. Cincinnati, first off, had trouble getting on base against him. Secondly, he picked off his first runner of the year, which is very unfortunate. But that's the way it goes sometimes in baseball. You could have a great handicap of the situation and matchup, and a guy goes out there and has a career start, and that's kind of what happened there. I know Marcus Phillips is a very good pitcher, but yeah, that was the matchup there. Cincinnati also loses outright. I had to sprinkle on them on the money line. We did get that over 13 as they scored 14 runs there. Tennessee wins 10-4, 10-4. 10-6. I can't remember. We were 1 run off of covering the 3.5, so it was 8-4. No, not 8-4. I don't know why I can't remember this number. This score. Oklahoma, North Carolina under 10.5. Kyson Witherspoon, honestly, like one of the top pitchers in the 2025 class for the MLB draft, gets blitzed. First inning, North Carolina's offense puts up 6 runs. I know that offense has been red hot, but Kyson Witherspoon was a big game pitcher up until this point. Every single game he'd been locked down. He actually struggled against the weaker opponents that, sometimes you don't get up for, where he had a 5.5 ERA. Everybody else, it was sub 150 ERA up until North Carolina. So I'm proud of the Tar Heels lineup because they are my national championship pick. Absolutely love where we're sitting right now with that. Stetson, they lose to Auburn. I mean, Samuel Dutton pitched out of his mind, got back on track. He had a couple of rough starts in a row there. I thought that, him not being a totally overpowering arm, a good mid-major offense that was rolling after, blowing out NC State the day before, would have been able to compete and, challenge for a win. They had their opportunities. They left a ton of runners on base, just wasn't there. And then Texas, they fall apart. I mean, we pulled Luke Harrison, our best starting pitcher, in the 6th inning, and the UTSA jumped all over the next guy, and they scored like 6 runs in an inning. They took the lead. and then they piggybacked their game 2 starter with their game 3 starter, and they completely shut down Texas. That second guy, Braylon Owens, pitched tremendous and got the 3.2 inning save. Unbelievable outing and stones from that guy in performance there. So we've got 16 games today. A couple of them aren't really bettable when it comes to the money line. We might bring up a total or two, but I do have pitchers for all of the matchups. For those that are curious, I'll be able to update you on like who pitched game 1 and game 2 for some of these teams. Before we get into that, though, the SGP guys are ripping packs live on air with next Monday night. So technically tomorrow night or 2 nights, but they'll be breaking a case of Panini Prisms with DAPS, and you can get 10% off your favorite team with promo code SGPN. Go over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/break to get in on the action. All right, let's jump into the slate here. I got my cheat sheet full of starting pitchers and the odds ready to go. The first matchup is in the Athens Regional as Georgia. They fall. They actually, get pretty handily, never really threatened to win this game. Duke was outstanding yesterday. Kyle Johnson had his best start of the season, I feel like, able to keep that Georgia offense down. And may I say that's a sneak peek of what we could have here. Kyle Johnson being a left-handed pitcher. We'll talk about who Georgia will face here today, who's been much, much better than Kyle Johnson this season. Georgia's minus 188 on the money line. Oklahoma State is plus 145. The total is at 14 with minus 115 both ways there. Oklahoma State and Georgia 1.5 run line, plus 1.5, of course, in the favor of Oklahoma State, and they're both minus 115 both ways. So on the bump, like I sneak peeked, Harrison Bodendorf is going to go in today's game. He had been battling a sickness that Coach Josh Holliday was talking about. They didn't feel comfortable starting him in that first game. They weren't going to start him in the second game up against the 4 seed. So they're going to go with him against Georgia. And Georgia's OPS as a team is around 850, which is great. It's a good OPS. That's what they are against left-handed pitching. Against right-handed pitching, it's above 1,000. So you'll take that, split with a left-handed pitcher that's been an ace this year. Bodendorf started 15 games. He's 10-1 with a 2.77 ERA and 87.2 innings. He's got 100 strikeouts, 27 walks, and a 2.82 SIERA. He's legit. His opponents are hitting below 200 against him. And his last 3 starts is a 1.70 ERA. His last 8 starts, it's a sub 2.50 ERA. He's been incredible for the Cowboys this year. The strength of this team is that weekend rotation. They jumped all over Mario Pesca that first game, who was a right-handed pitcher, kind of a pitch to contact guy. And man, oh man, did Duke make some contact against him. So that's why they fell into the losers bracket here. They throw Hunter Watkins, who's been the SP3 and or reliever for Oklahoma State here. And this pitching staff is relatively ready to go because they've played 2 non-competitive games. I mean, plus 145 on Oklahoma State here has to be the play. They're going up against probably Charlie Goldstein, as Georgia has thrown Leighton Finley in the first game against Binghamton. Then the second game, they start Brian Curley, their ace, and then they bring in Colton Smith, who was their opening day starter, then their most talented arm in the bullpen, kind of got sick, injuries, what have you, but he's a talented arm too that they're not going to be able to bring him out, strategically they could, but he threw 40 plus pitches yesterday. Typically pitchers don't really come back the next day and throw again after doing that. That would be, honestly, I'd put it below 25% chance of happening. So Charlie Goldstein, I think, gets the start. He's been a midweek starter for Georgia for the entire year. Some spot starts in the weekend. He's got 11 total this season. It's a 7.66 ERA in 24.2 innings, 30 strikeouts, 23 walks, a 4.61 SIERA, a 2.30 batting average against. Oklahoma State's offense also struggles against the left-handed pitching. They've got a lot of left-handed hitters in that lineup. So it's kind of which one of these guys are going to go well is going to give their team the best chance of winning, right? And I'll take the ace. I'll take Harrison Bodendorf, even if he's a little sick. Oklahoma State's staff is good to go, unlike Georgia's, because of the two uncompetitive games that Oklahoma State has played so far this weekend. So I think I want to take I would pick the under 14, but plus 145 here is a good play. And for 16 games on the slate, I'm going to fire on that one 1,000% with a huge starting pitching advantage. Game number 2 in the Clemson regional, we have Clemson up against Kentucky. Now, this is one of my favorite days of the NCAA tournament. It's moving day. You have the team from the losers bracket that wins a game. They move on. They're building momentum. They played the afternoon game. They have pretty much, 20 hours of rest and just being able to sit back, relax in their hotel or what have you, and get ready for this game. Teams that are in the winners bracket and play closely contested games that might be throwing the kitchen sink to win that game and, just happen to go all out and they fall short. And now they fall into that losers bracket. They're also moving too, goes the moving day name, but also they're behind the 8 ball. Clemson yesterday throws Aiden Canuck, their ace. They throw Reed Garris, their best leverage arm in the late innings, who's a right-handed pitcher. And they throw Lucas Malstedt, their closer, and they lose the game. And all 3 of those arms are not going to be able to pitch today. You're looking at Talon Bell, who's going to be starting, according to Eric Bakich in post-game press conference. And then Jacob McGovern, if he's good to go after throwing 50 pitches on 1 day rest. So, we'll see about Clemson. But 7 starts this year for the freshman Talon Bell. He's got a 3.98 ERA in 20.1 innings, 21 strikeouts, 14 walks with a 4.44 SIERA, 2.38 batting average against. And Clemson, and Kentucky is that team that I said, built a little bit of momentum here with a win against USC Upstate, who's a solid 4 seed. And Nate Harris has been in the weekend rotation for the back half of the SEC season. He's also a freshman with 12 starts. He's 4-2 with a 4.22 ERA and 53.1 innings. He's got 30 more innings thrown than Talon Bell, 38 strikeouts, 22 walks, a 4.66 SIERA, 2.35 batting average against. This is going to be a really This is going to be a really interesting matchup between these two teams that have very, very similar identities to each other. Everybody knows of Kentucky for playing in the College World Series last year. Their style of ball is, they're not afraid to play a little bit of small ball. They're going to run the bases aggressively. They're going to see pitches in counts and work that arm that is on the mound against them. And they're going to play very, very solid defense, one of the best defensive teams in the country. And Clemson does all of those with just a little bit more, I would call it swagger, mojo, a little bit more star power, because Cam Cannarella is playing out of his mind right now in the NCAA tournament through the first 2 games, and they have the home field advantage. So it depends on how much you personally want to weigh both of those. But to me, I like fading the teams that fall down after the night game when they throw everything at it. And certainly Clemson did, as they even started they threw their number 3, BJ Bailey, to finish that game. He only threw 10 pitches, but Eric Bakich announced that Talon Bell is going to throw. So obviously it was enough to, not even give BJ Bailey a thought to start against Kentucky. So I like the Wildcats here. And the odds, Kentucky's plus 124, Clemson's minus 160. The total is 12.5. Honestly, I don't have a great feel on that. I'd probably more inclined to take the over 12.5 there. I could definitely see a world that Clemson wins this game, though, with that rowdy atmosphere and home crowd with Rattling Bog going. And also, we like to party. Those two songs playing nonstop. But also, like, I could also see Kentucky winning. So my pick is going to be the plus money Kentucky, but I'm not going to be personally betting this one here either. We'll get to the other 14 games, but first, I want to talk to you about how Edge Boost is the first ever bank account that is built for bettors, ensuring that all gambling transactions are approved. There are no usage fees, no minimums. You can earn cashback rewards today. 100% approval for all betting deposits you can get as well. Sign up today at EdgeBoost.bet with the promo code SGPN. Deposit $25 and Edge Boost will match that deposit. That is EdgeBoost.bet with the promo code SGPN. And it's time for Underdog Fantasy, as they are going long on their Pick'em platform over at Underdog Fantasy for the NBA playoffs with their extender bonus. Hop in during game 1 of the NBA finals, and the longer that the series goes, the bigger the bonus will get. Sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick, plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. Got to write down my ad time. Forgot a page of paper. And we are back here on the college baseball experience. Myself, Noah Bieniek, running through all of the June 1st moving day, first part of moving day, by the way. There will be double headers tomorrow or today, not even tomorrow. I still got to take a nap, though. But there will be double headers. And this is the first part. There's going to be 2 games in each regional today. So be ready live. Follow me on Twitter at NoahB77_. Follow the show on Twitter at TCE on SGPN to see if I add any live bets for those second slate of games, because those teams will have, the teams that haven't played a game yet today will have a little bit of advantage on the side of, they've thrown less arms. Also, they're a little bit more rested. But then again, some teams could build momentum through the losers bracket as well once they get into that regional final. We see it all the time where some 1 seeds take some early losses and then they build their way back up and win a regional come Monday in game 7. But this is we're going to see quite a few rematches. This is the first one that we're going to talk about in the Knoxville regional, Cincinnati against Wake Forest. Certainly an interesting matchup that Cincinnati won the first time through it. Wake Forest minus 154 the second time around. Cincinnati plus 120. Very similar situation to what we saw during game 1 of this regional. However, different pitchers. And we don't have Nathan Taylor, a top 5 pitcher in the Big 12, going up against a powerful Wake Forest offense. We have Carson Marsh, who in 8 starts is 3-5 with a 7.03 ERA. In 39.2 innings, he's got 46 strikeouts, 22 walks, a 376 SIERA, a 245 batting average against. And for Wake Forest, it's going to be Matthew Dallas. These 2 pitchers have been confirmed by both head coaches in the post-game pressers. Dallas is a southpaw, 13 starts on the season. He's a Tennessee transfer, so he's familiar with the building, Lindsey Nelson Stadium. He's familiar with the mound that he's going to be throwing on. So he's got a 5.09 ERA, 53 innings pitched, 59 strikeouts, 28 walks, 381 SIERA, just a 249 batting average against. To me, this seems like Wake Forest has the starting pitcher advantage, and it's going to come down to, can Cincinnati overcome that? 1, are they going to be able to take advantage of how many walks that they got the first game against Wake Forest? Are they going to be able to get that again in game 2? I think they might be able to, as Matthew Dallas has 28 walks in the 53 innings pitched that he's thrown. So that's almost a walk per inning, or over a half walk per inning, which Cincinnati can definitely take advantage of, and then be able to run wild on the base paths once again against this Wake Forest team. Am I confident enough that it happens, though, this time, that they are able to keep down Wake Forest's offense enough to be able to get this thing done? No, because Cincinnati's, they're not as deep as Wake Forest in the bullpen when it comes to that. Wake Forest does have, up and down that pitching staff has the ability to not be able to throw strikes often. They're a power pitching staff that, they have a 4.67 staff ERA in that bullpen, but Cincinnati also 5.24. And also today in their game against Tennessee, Landon Vitterick, who has 37 steals or 38 steals on the year, leads the team by over 10 stolen bags. He didn't play because of the injury that's kept him out of games over the last 2 weeks. They weren't at full strength against Tennessee. Are they going to be at full strength against Wake Forest? I don't know. My pick here is Wake Forest, but I could see Cincinnati possibly pulling it off, but I definitely agree with them being the dog. And yeah, once again, overall matchup when it comes to Cincinnati's offense against Wake Forest pitching staff, Cincinnati's going to be scrappy in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's once again close, but I think Wake Forest wins the matchup. And wouldn't be surprised if we see over 14.5 runs. In Conway, we get another one of those situations where I was talking about, sometimes teams really try to go for it in the 1-0 game. And you got East Carolina playing Florida again. This is another one of your rematches. East Carolina throws their ace against Florida. He completely shoves, dictates the game, and East Carolina is able to put up a lot of runs early, and the entire game script gets flipped on Florida's head, and Florida basically punted it, saved a lot of their pitching staff for later on in the weekend. So, they threw McNeely in that matchup, but they saved Clemente. They saved a couple other important arms in that bullpen. And yesterday, they blow out Fairfield late, granted, but Aiden King goes 8 innings. They didn't use any of the bullpen. Whereas East Carolina tosses out there Ethan Young. They started Sean Jenkins. They threw Brad Pruitt. All these important arms that are key to East Carolina's success that they had over the last week in the AAC tournament have all kind of been used. And yeah, they're typically used quite a bit with how they were designed to come into the NCAA tournament. I mentioned that Ethan Norby threw 3 times during the AAC tournament. Wouldn't be surprised if we see him at some point today, honestly, but it's probably in relief. Starting this game, I think it's going to be Lance Williams, who's only got 7 starts on the year. He's got a 5.30 ERA, 42 strikeouts, 27 walks in 35.2 innings. It's a 4.18 Sierra, and opponents are hitting 254 against him, which is, not bad for the pitcher, but he's going up against Pierce Coppola, and opponents are just hitting 134 against him. This is a wicked lefty, arm angle way out to the left. And it's tough to hit because it's mid-90s. And I'm not sure how many types of arms that East Carolina's seen like Coppola. I really don't. And, velocity is common in today's game. Everybody's got somebody that throws 90. But do you have a 6'6 lefty who throws 95? I don't know. And therefore, I think Florida wins this game pretty comfortably. This is going to end up being a parlay piece of mine at some point during the show. We'll figure out another leg for this. But Florida's lineup, like I said, exploded late in that game. They're not going to be facing Ethan Norby in this matchup. They're not going to be facing probably some of East Carolina's other, top relievers that they threw 40, 50-plus pitches yesterday in a dogfight against Coastal Carolina until it got away from them late. So, yeah, I think this matchup, overall, you fade the team that just played a late game, and then now they have a shorter rest period of time. They're getting up earlier. This is a noon game on the Atlantic coast. I'm taking Florida in this one. pretty comfortably too. Let's talk about Northeastern and Mississippi State playing each other in Tallahassee, where Mississippi State is minus 145, Northeastern's plus 114. Confirmed for Mississippi State, they're starting Evan Sierry, who, has been really good down the final stretch of the year. In 9 starts, he's got a 4.12 ERA, 48 innings, 63 strikeouts, 15 walks, just a 228 batting average against, 249 Sierra, which is very good. And then Avon Cabral is the household name of this Northeastern rotation. He's now a junior. He was there during that talented 2023 team, was part of the reason why the 2024 team had so much hype in the preseason and then tailed off during the year. But they're back, and he's a huge reason why they're really good again. As the SP3 of this team, he provides veteran leadership, steadiness, and 15 starts this year. He's 10-2 with a 2.74 ERA and 85.1 innings. He's got 73 strikeouts. This is a pitch to contact arm that in the past had been crazy down on the K per 9 ratio. This year, it's better than it's been in past years, and he's only got 14 walks still. Opponents are hitting 218 against him. It's a 327 Sierra. This game, the X factor of it is Evan Sierry, because if he does not pitch well, obviously, if he doesn't pitch well, Northeastern has a great chance of winning. But also, he's just so volatile, and he's been great down the stretch of the last 3 or so games this season. But at the same time, they've been 3 of the weaker opponents that they've played this season, outside of his one heroic Ole Miss start where, he's a hometown kid starting against the in-state rival. It's easy to paint the picture of how he had an out-of-body experience in that game. Avon Cabral is a right-handed pitcher. The last time that Mississippi State faced Northeastern and really kind of clobbered Will Jones, he was a lefty. And Mississippi State's one of the top 10 offenses against left-handed pitching this season in the Power 4 conference. So up against a right-hander with a lot of left-handed power in that lineup, I think Northeastern is going to be able to fare a little bit better this time around. The last time, I believe Mississippi State was, if not the dog, they were a very short favorite. This time, Northeastern is a plus 114 dog. I think Northeastern has a great shot of winning this game. I really do. This is one of your best pitching staffs in the country. Yeah, it was against a very weak schedule, but yesterday they were able to, regain some confidence that may have been wavering a little bit against that Mississippi State team the first time around. And now it's, all right, we're going to build this thing up and we're going to attempt to go for it and get revenge here and knock Mississippi State out of the NCAA tournament. And I think the Huskies have a good shot to do that. The total is at 12. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing goes over that. Let's talk about Nebraska and Oklahoma. Once again, another rematch that we will see in the NCAA tournament at noon. In this matchup, Nebraska could go a couple of different directions, whether it's Will Walsh or who I think may throw is Tucker Timmerman. He hasn't thrown yet. He's one of their more talented arms. He missed a lot of the season due to getting hit in the face by a 100 mile an hour chopped ground ball that took one bounce and hit him in the face, busted up his nose. But on the season during the back half of the year, he's been really good for this Nebraska team in some spots. Overall, on the year, it's a 5.61 ERA and 33.2 innings. He's got 30 strikeouts, just 10 walks, and a 3.76 Sierra, 2.52 batting average against. And for Oklahoma, I think it's going to be the left-hander Cade Crossland. Hasn't thrown yet. He's been a weekend starter for this team for most of the year since Cam Johnson got hurt. And Crossland's 4-5 on the season, 7.04 ERA with a 61.1 innings pitched, 75 strikeout ratio, just 31 walks, 3.46 Sierra, 2.61 batting average against. The odds in this game, Oklahoma's minus 180. Nebraska's plus 140, total is 12.5. Oklahoma was the team that, they saved their ace for that game 2, and then he gets blitzed. How is this team going to respond after losing that 1-0 game and what looked like a golden pitching setup is no longer? They're kind of in the same spot as Nebraska was able to hold off Holy Cross yesterday. I don't think that I can jump on a minus 180 price on Oklahoma. I would rather be on the plus 140 pick with Nebraska. And the total here is 12.5. I don't think either offense is good enough to really put up 7+. So I think this thing stays under due to both of them kind of, putting up 10 runs total-ish. That is, I think, going to be a bet of mine. I like that under 12.5. We'll revisit it, but it's one of my favorites of that noon slate. I like Oklahoma State money line a little bit more there, but these are two offenses that have not been tremendously overpowering for much of the season. So I like that play. In the Austin regional, we talked about how Texas kind of blew a tire late in that game against UTSA, and they fall to the loser bracket, but they do have Ruger Riojas, who was one of their top starting pitchers in the middle of the year, top arms in general in the middle of the year. He's sputtered lately. He's a 5.25 ERA guy now, but on the year he has an 8-3 record and 61.2 innings, just 56 strikeouts, 19 walks, 373 SIERA, 262 batting average against. And they're going to face the lefty Michael Quevedo, who is believe it's a Nichols State transfer, and he played at Little Rock before that, I believe. He's 6-3 on the year, 6.28 ERA, and 61.2 innings. He's got 70 strikeouts, 25 walks, a 3.48 SIERA, and a 3.01 batting average against. To me, this one feels like a Texas spot with Ruger Riojas on the mound. I also don't really see Kansas State's lineup being tremendously talented, overpowering, threatening in this one. They do have the tendency to hit the long ball, but hitting for average in this lineup has been not their forte, and the ball doesn't really fly that well at Dish Falk Field. So I think that Ruger Riojas is going to be able to play his game, pitch to contact with tremendous stuff. It's a low 90s fastball, really good off speed. And I think he's going to be able to get the team back into that regional final where they'll be able to play UTSA one or two more times and be able to defend home field. Once again, though, do I feel tremendous about Texas at this price against Kansas State where they're minus 245? No. Kansas plus 185 for what it's worth, and the total is 13.5. It's got a good shot of staying under, I would say. That would probably be my favorite pick of the game. That would probably be where I point you if you're looking to bet something on that Texas-Kansas State game. We have Georgia Tech and Ole Miss playing on Sunday, just like everybody thought in this regional. Except Murray State, the 4 seed, has totally ravaged both pitching staffs. It's insanely impressive what the Racers have done to both Ole Miss and Georgia Tech in this regional. It really is. Ole Miss in the first game against Murray State tosses every solid arm that they have at Murray State, and the Racers were able to hit them. It was a tight game throughout. They edge out the Rebels in the final inning. And it kind of ravaged that pitching staff. Hunter Elliott did a tremendous job in kind of righting the ship, shortening the game for the Rebs bullpen. And they were able to get past Western Kentucky, who did threaten late after Elliott was removed from the game. And for Georgia Tech's case, they were down 10-4 at one point due to Murray State. This offense didn't even let Brady Jones get out of the first inning. So then they go to Mason Patel, who's been their best reliever in the pen all season long. They have to throw him 50-plus innings. They don't 50-plus pitches. but they don't burn them for the weekend, so they have to pull them. And they're throwing out kind of, B-level arms from that bullpen, and Murray State was clobbering those guys. It was super, super impressive what Murray State did. Georgia Tech did battle in that one too. I like what both offenses have done in some of these games so far. Georgia Tech's played the better teams to get to the path, like Western Kentucky. Well, actually, I can't even say the better teams. They've both played the same two teams in Western Kentucky and Murray State. I like how both teams put up 8+ runs in their games. And this game total is 14.5. I think we're going over that. The two pitchers in this matchup are Jalen Payton, who's been a reliever for a lot of the year, but I do like the arm. He's made 4 starts this year. It's a 1.88 ERA. In 43 innings, he's got 51 strikeouts, 24 walks. Opponents are hitting just 181 against him. And Ole Miss has one or two ways that they could go about this. They could start their senior right-hander, Mason Nichols, who's been in the weekend rotation the entire season, or they could go Cade Townsend, who was their midweek starter for the entire year, then throws in the SEC tournament when it would have been Mason Nichols' spot because Nichols was battling a little bit of an injury. They didn't put Nichols on the SEC tournament roster. He is on the NCAA tournament roster for those that are wondering. And they threw Cade Townsend, and he looked incredible, looked like a guy that's probably going to be a Friday night starter either next year or the year after that in the SEC. But the entire identity of this team with Mike Bianco and the Rebs has been the experienced starting pitching staff with all the seniors that returned. Once again, 3 guys that were on the national championship team in 2022. I think they go with Nichols, who's got a 5.51 ERA in 50.2 innings, 51 strikeouts, 24 walks, 4.04 Sierra, and a 2.81 batting average against. Like I said, though, I think both of these arms could go all right for the first 4 or 5 innings. Then when the bullpens come in, it's a war of attrition. I think both offenses are going to be able to get going. I kind of like Georgia Tech to win straight up. Ole Miss seems to be a little banged up right now for whatever reason. I know they had 2 outfielders collide in the SEC tournament, and, Ryan Moorman hasn't been 100% healthy for these weekend games. And that's kind of hurt Ole Miss, along with, Humphrey also not being 100% apparently. So I guess coming into this game, I like Georgia Tech. They're plus 100. Ole Miss is minus 130. Total of 14.5. I think my favorite pick is still the over. 14.5 there. That one's a fringe lock. We'll bring that up at the end of the show, and we'll move on here. Before we finish the slate of games here on June 1st, our job at SGPN is to help you find the best bets, the best picks, and now we have a really good new tool that takes things to a whole new level. You've heard us talk about Rhythm before, and now they just dropped a game-changing feature called Power Trends. These are AI-detected patterns where Rhythm's model has consistently won and has a high return on investment. Think of like a strikeout prop that wins at 59% of the time. When the line and win probability hit a certain range, this thing is good. Power Trends are updated daily and are exclusive to Rhythm. There are no touts, no noise, just clean data-backed bets. Download that Rhythm app today. Check out Power Trends and start betting smarter, because you know that we over at SGPN will be. Get your 7-day free trial today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's Rhythm spelled RITHMM. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And SGPN has also teamed up with Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, giving away the ultimate fantasy football experience for a 12-person league to draft in Las Vegas and be treated like VIPs for their stay. The winner will receive a 2-night stay at Circa Resort and Casino for the entire 12-person league. That is 6 double king rooms that you'll be able to stay in, and you'll be able to hold your draft at a cabana at Stadium Swim with a $5,000 food and beverage credit. There will be limo transportation to and from the airport, a welcome party at Legacy Club for the league, a reservation at the world's largest sportsbook with a $500 beverage credit, a 2-hour open bar package for the league at Overhang Bar, and the contest runs from May 5th to June 30th. Go over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa to enter today. That is sportsgamblingpodcast.com/CIRCA. And the college baseball experience is brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every sport, including the NBA playoffs. For the true degens, the MyBookie money bag is also there for you, as MyBookie accepts a ton of customers from a ton of different locations. You can easily deposit and get lightning fast payouts using crypto as well. Head over to mybookie.ag, promo code TCE SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. That is mybookie.ag, promo code TCE SGPN. And we're back here on the college baseball experience, running through the moving day slate, June 1st, Sunday of the NCAA tournament. We're going to see two teams possibly eliminated in a lot of these regionals today, or we'll see some game sevens take place on Monday after the results that we see on Sunday night. But first, we've got to get through the afternoon slate. There are 16 games in all 16 regionals. In the afternoon, the winner moves on to the regional final to play the team that's currently 2-0 in the regional final. Where we left off was the Southern Miss Columbia game. This one is one of the games, kind of gets later into the stretch here where they kind of get unbettable, in my opinion, on the side. Southern Miss is minus 298, Columbia plus 220, total of 14 here. Joe Sheets is going to throw for Columbia here, as confirmed by their coach in the post-game press conference. In 12 starts, he's 3-4 on the season, 6.67 ERA, in 59.1 innings. He's got 51 strikeouts, 39 walks, with a 4.81 SIERA, 3.21 batting average against. His last three starts, 10.65 ERA. Southern Miss coming in here after taking the loss to Columbia in that first game. I feel like they're going to be pretty motivated after getting a great win late in the game, taking over the momentum against Alabama, winning that thing. And I think they go with Graydon Harris, who's been the midweek starter for them for a lot of the season. He's got 14 starts this year, 4-3 record, 3.63 ERA, 52 innings, 44 strikeouts, 24 walks, with a 4.32 SIERA, 2.86 batting average against. The bullpen is so much better than Columbia's. When you look at the Columbia team, the Ivy League, they play 7-inning games a lot, and the pitching staff really hasn't been battle tested. They've got a good one or two guys. Everybody has a good one or two guys. And then once you get deeper into the weekend, the depth really matters in these regionals, and Columbia just doesn't have it, in my opinion. The offense is going to be scrappy, but then again, today against Miami, they only put up 1 run in 9 innings, and a guy goes complete game against them. It just seems like this is a Southern Miss spot. The Eagles should be able to win this. Could be a parlay piece if I, don't have another favorite leg. This is probably going to be with that Florida pick come the end of the show. North Dakota State, Creighton, another one of these games where, the odds are kind of through the roof. Creighton's minus 500, North Dakota State's plus 340. The total is 12. North Dakota State did get a win against Kansas yesterday. And this, honestly, on paper, is one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the field of 64. It's them and Little Rock in that conversation. And Kansas, that was a rough weekend that they put on display here in Fayetteville. North Dakota State, probably going to go with Parker Petts. He threw against Oral Roberts in the Summit League Championship game, even though he's got 4 starts. That was one of them, and he did all right. But on the season, it's an 11.57 ERA, only 7 innings thrown, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, 2.72 SIERA, and a 3.10 batting average against. For Creighton, this has been their third best starter for the entire season. Jack Pinot He's 3-0 on the year, 5.71 ERA in 34.2 innings. He's got 34 strikeouts, 18 walks, 300 batting average against, a 426 Sierra. When you look at the North Dakota State team, offensively, they are a little challenged. It's the second worst offense in the field of 68 or field of 64. Sorry. And going up against the Creighton team that has a strength of pitching, the depth is incredible there. They've got 9 guys that have a sub 4.15 ERA. It's pretty good on paper. And I think they'll be able to get past North Dakota State in this matchup. This also could be a solid parlay leg for everybody. The only danger in this one is that they were one of those teams that lost a 1-0 game in the winner's bracket, played the night game. Now they got to come back and play the early game. Just like Columbia in that situation. I feel really good about betting against Columbia there. I feel really good about betting against East Carolina in this same kind of situation. I have hesitation about Clemson because of this same situation. So I'm not necessarily wanting to throw Creighton into a parlay, but if that's your cup of coffee, your poison, go ahead. I think the Blue Jays win this thing pretty comfortably, and they get back into the regional final, and they are going to challenge Arkansas once again for a regional title. In Nashville, another rematch between Vanderbilt and Wright State in the early part of the day. This is an elimination game here. Vanderbilt threw Cody Bowker, their number 2, in the beginning of the game. Then they followed him up with Connor Fennell, their third starting pitcher for the back half of the season in the SEC conference play. And, now they're probably going to have to go with their midweek guy, Austin Nye, who on paper against mostly mid-major starts, there were a couple of mixed in Power 4 schools like a Louisville, but, he's been good against that type of competition. He's playing one of those type of competition teams here, but Wright State's offense is a different level, and Vanderbilt's offense is not quite at that level. It's an interesting matchup. We saw it on Friday where it was a low-scoring game, and Wright State's arm, Cam Allen, was unbelievable. I'd be willing to know what would happen, though, if he didn't throw 6 no-hit innings, because then Vanderbilt pounced for 4 runs in the final 3, and, they win that game. There was a controversial 2-run home run, but I really do think that, outside of Cam Allen's out-of-body performance, because he had a really bad ERA in conference play and a very weak conference, I think Vanderbilt wins that game comfortably. If you take him out of the equation, I don't assume that they're going to pitch him again after throwing around 75 pitches on Friday, 1 day rest. I don't think they're bringing back Cam Allen. I think it's going to be Griffin Page, who, I've projected him to start in a lot of these games for Wright State so far, and he hasn't. So maybe there's an injury that I don't know about, but, he's a starting pitcher with 10 starts on the year and hasn't gone. I once again have to project him to start here. He does have an 8.90 ERA in his last 14.2 innings. It's a 10.48 ERA, but he was their game 1 guy all throughout conference play. I don't believe that they're going to completely work away from him. He just maybe fell down in line of order of starting pitchers that they wanted to use this weekend, and I don't blame them at all. But he's got 41 strikeouts, 17 walks, and 31.1 innings. They're going to have to use this guy at some point. He's their best starting pitcher remaining. I think Griffin Page goes. And I think Vanderbilt wins. But am I confident in that? No. If you go and watch that press conference, Tim Corbin's pretty upset with how the media was pressing him on how the offense has not performed very well throughout 2 games. I think the message might get across here, and they make a little bit of a statement against Wright State. But again, minus 620, am I willing to bet that? No. The total of 12, I would probably think that this one goes over. Actually, the total's 13. I would think this one goes over 13, but not totally confident and comfortable in that pick there. The next game that we should talk about is, did I skip one in here? No. No, I don't think so. Nope. Dallas Baptist, Little Rock is next, I think. All out of sorts. Looking at DraftKings, who has one order of games, looking at my sheet that has another order of games. So let me find this one here, this next game that we're going to talk about. A Dallas Baptist, Little Rock. There we go. DBU minus 1750, Little Rock plus 850. The total is 15 after Little Rock unloads on Rhode Island for 22 runs. I bet the under with them against LSU because this was the worst offense in the field of 64, quite literally. And they did have solid starting pitching that I thought, were legit arms that could keep LSU down enough. We got that under across yesterday, and then both teams exploded 4 runs today. LSU wins their game like 12-0 against Dallas Baptist in totally blow-up fashion, and DBU threw 2 starting pitchers in that matchup. They threw Micah Bucknam, who was an LSU transfer in that matchup. He did not go well, and then they threw James Ellwanger, who had been their number 2 all season long, and he did go well, but they end up in the losers bracket, and now they're going to probably have to throw their number 4 or 5 when it comes to their hierarchy and starting pitchers. Personally, I think they're going to try to press their luck with their number 5 and Ryan Schwade and see how he does, because he is a solid arm. He's another kind of pitch to contact arm. He's got 30 strikeouts and 35.2 innings, but it's a 4.54 ERA. He's only got 7 walks. This should be able to get them across the finish line against Little Rock. I really do think so. And Little Rock may have, scored all of their runs for the weekend in that one game. It was an incredible surprise to me when I was score watching that one for sure. Brody Bunting is their number 3 starting pitcher for the Trojans. In 7 starts, he's 3-4 with a 5.98 ERA and 40.2 innings. He's got 31 strikeouts, 23 walks. It's a 5.20 Sierra, so that translates. You add 1.5 to that number, and that's the ERA. So he's got like a 6.70 true ERA according to advanced analytics. Opponents are hitting above 300 against him. This seems like a Dallas Baptist get right spot, but at 1750, do I want to play it? Hell no. Total at 15. I actually kind of want to take the under, but Dallas Baptist is not going to score 25 runs in this matchup, knowing that they've got another game on deck against LSU. So they're going to press the brake a little bit. I don't think Little Rock's offense will be able to sustain their success yesterday. But do I want to jump on it? No. But the under 15 would be my pick in this one as well. All right. And my 2 darlings in that Auburn regional that I bet on both of them to win it are now playing each other in the elimination game. The winner goes to the regional final, where Auburn is currently in the driver's seat. Stetson is one of those teams that I feel like attempted to really go for the win yesterday. They threw their ace reliever, Ty Van Dyke, for 4 innings, 50-plus pitches, and, he's not going to be able to go for the Hatters in this game. They also used Jake Gorelick for 40-plus pitches the first time against NC State. The Wolfpack have a really good look at their best reliever that would probably be available for this game. So ultimately, I don't love the matchup for Stetson in this one. They're probably going to throw Ethan Ethan Phillips, who has started 13 games for them this year. He's been their game 3 starter on the weekends. He's got a 5.17 ERA, 47 innings, 30 strikeouts, 26 walks, 4.99 SIERA, and a 2.72 batting average against. I think he's going to go up against Heath Andrews of NC State, who also has started 13 games this year. He's 4-3 with a 6.12 ERA and 60.1 innings. He's got 50 strikeouts, 22 walks, 4.14 SIERA, a 2.87 batting average against. That first game, NC State really kicked the ball around in the first inning that allowed Stetson to score 7. I think that they're going to try to be a hell of a lot more sharper. And like I said, they've already seen the top bullpen arm that Stetson's going to be able to roll at them. This is not Jonathan Gonzalez, their best pitcher. This is Ethan Phillips. I think NC State's lineup is going to be ready for the occasion, motivated to get their lick back against the team that put them in the loser bracket in the first place. And I think the Wolfpack win this game. They're minus 215. So again, another one of these games that I don't really feel great about playing. A total of 13.5 is tough because both of these starting pitchers are not tremendous. Both offenses aren't outstanding. And, both bullpens, NC State's got a pretty, a bullpen that's pretty ready to go overall, because they played a non-competitive game against Stetson. For some reason, Stetson threw their second best bullpen arm for multiple innings. I don't know why. And then, NC State wins in blowout fashion, 12-0 over Central Connecticut State. So that bullpen is in a whole lot better shape entering this matchup. And I think they may be able to, I could see a scenario where this thing stays under the 13.5. I could also see a scenario where it goes over. My pick would be the over, but I'm not confident in that one either. Let's see here. A couple more games for the afternoon slate. In the Los Angeles Regional, we have Arizona State up against UC Irvine. The pitchers for this one, I think both teams could throw their SP3s in this spot. For Arizona State, Easton Barrett has 10 starts on the year. He's got a 4-1 record, 4.38 ERA in 39 innings. He's got 40 strikeouts, 29 walks with a 4.58 SIERA, 2.60 batting average against. And for UC Irvine, it's a left-handed pitcher, Ryder Brooks, who's got 11 starts, most of them on the weekend for the Anteaters this year. He's 6-3 with a 4.95 ERA, 63.2 innings pitched, 69 strikeouts, 27 walks, 3.29 SIERA, 2.28 batting average against. This one's really interesting. I think both teams have kind of thrown some of their top options against each other, as we saw that first game play out really close between Arizona State and UC Irvine. Arizona State uses Carlone, who's their best reliever, Team USA college guy for this upcoming summer. UC Irvine goes with Ricky Ojeda. So if they go back to both of their bullpen aces in this matchup, both offenses should be able to fare better against each other this time around. Overall, Arizona State's bullpen is not great, kind of at all. Their bullpen has a 5.36 ERA. It's bottom half in the field of 64 for this NCAA tournament. UC Irvine has a 4.72, but they've already kind of, like I mentioned, Ricky Ojeda threw 2.2 innings. You probably burned him for this specific matchup. If you win the game, you want to use him against UCLA, because the Bruins haven't seen that arm this weekend. So it'll be an interesting game here between Irvine and Arizona State. Irvine doesn't typically get into these high scoring affairs, but the total at 13.5, I could see this one getting a little bit higher scoring. And if that happens, I think it favors Arizona State and their offense. I think it's a better unit overall than UC Irvine. You're looking at, Arizona State's offense, top 16 in this field of 64 when it comes to WRC plus, 1.47 home runs per game. They're stealing almost 2 bags a game. And UC Irvine's offense is just not as dynamic in the run scoring department. So I think Arizona State has a great shot to win this game. It's a very even game, though. I'm super excited to watch this. One of my favorite, loser bracket afternoon games. This one actually at 6 p.m. for what it's worth, because it's on the West Coast. 3 p.m. local time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Uh, I would say the over 13.5 is my favorite pick in this matchup, and I think the Sun Devils have a great shot to win it at minus 105 there. In the penultimate game of the day, Oregon State will play St. Mary's. St. Mary's drops the game to USC, where they were competitive in spurts, but really didn't really threaten at all to win that game there in Corvallis. And Oregon State has Ethan Kleinschmidt ready to go. He's been their most steady, solid starting pitcher this season, and it just happens to be he's been starting the third time through a weekend. He's a lefty who's made 14 starts this year. He's 7-3 with a 3.84 ERA. 72.2 innings. He's got 89 strikeouts, 27 walks, a 277 SIERA, 205 batting average against. And for St. Mary's, it's probably going to be Lucas Sarantos, the freshman, who's got 7 starts this year. He's 3-0 with a 5.40 ERA, 45 innings, 33 strikeouts, 21 walks. His SIERA is 4.99, and he has a 287 batting average against. To me, this is an Oregon State spot. Once again, attempting to get your lick back after, St. Mary's got to you and your bullpen in that first game. Now you have your best starting pitcher on the mound. I think they'll be able to dictate kind of how this game plays out here against the Gales. They build some confidence and momentum after beating TCU in a loser's bracket game. Oregon State is my second favorite leg in a parlay. After St. Mary's, they lose the night game. They come back with a little less time to prepare for this one against the Beavers. I think Oregon State at minus 375 is a very nice parlay leg. This one probably stays under the total of 14, with the Beavers doing a lot of the scoring work there. And then the final game of the day is between Utah Valley and Cal Poly, as Utah Valley and Cal Poly both beat the 1 seed Oregon in this regional, surprisingly. So the team in the driver's seat is Arizona after hitting a program record 8 home runs in that game against Utah Valley. Mason White had 3 of them. Utah Valley's kind of run out of, gas on the mound. They do have one more starter, but the bullpen's terrible. The bullpen is a 6.85 ERA on the year. It's bottom 16 in the field of 64 this season. And Cal Poly has Ethan Marby ready to go. He's 4-3 on the year and 13 starts, 5.14 ERA, 70 innings, 51 strikeouts, 31 walks. 4.43 SIERA there, 264 batting average against. For Utah Valley, it's probably going to be Jacob Hepner, who has 10 starts on the year, 4-3, where he's got a 6.47 ERA and 57 innings. He's got 57 strikeouts, 19 walks, and a 3.67 SIERA, 2.88 batting average against. Your total in this one's 15, and for good reason. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this matchup, as both of these offenses are very, very talented, and the pitching is not really their forte. Utah Valley at plus 220 is not terrible in value, because the offense will be able to play with Polys. Just, is the pitching staff deep enough? No, I don't think so. We saw Cal Poly work their way through the losers bracket of the Big West tournament. They've been in this position before. They have confidence enough to be able to win this game. I think the Mustangs do. The over would be my favorite bet in this matchup. And that concludes the afternoon slate. The way that the games are scheduled this year, in years past, it's really only been like noon and 3 p.m. And then we get a 3-hour break between the end of that noon game before a lot of the night slate begins. And in years past, we've been able to do a show in between that. With some of the West Coast games beginning at 6 p.m., I don't know if it's going to be, worth us doing a show in the middle. Have your eyes peeled. Follow me at NoahB77_. Turn on those notifications. I'll be live tweeting, my reactions to some of the great action that we will be watching today on moving day and the NCAA baseball tournament. Um, but yeah, I don't know if we're going to be doing a Sunday night, like a Sunday night games show. In years past, like I mentioned, we've done live ones, and it's been really cool, fun, interactive with the people. However, I just don't know if we'll have that many games and odds to talk about with how they've staggered these games so far. So it'll be interesting. We'll have to make the call at some point, I assume. And it also depends on the speed of which DraftKings and other sports books get these games out for the first regional final game of the weekend between the winner of the afternoon slate and the team that's currently 2-0 sitting there in the catbird seat of the regional. So I did land on 5 picks that I loved for the afternoon slate. I like Oklahoma State plus 145 with Harrison Bodesdorf up against Georgia. Georgia's lineup is great. I mean, but there's one small hole, and by small, it's quite noticeable. They have an OPS over 1,000 against right-handed pitching, OPS around 850 against left-handed pitching. That's 150 points worth of difference in that offense. And Harrison Bodendorf's one of the best left-handed pitchers that you're going to find out there. The Y transfer has been unbelievable for the Pokes this year with a 2.77 ERA, 10-1 record, 1.70 ERA in his last 3 starts. His last 9 starts have been really, really good, sub 2.50 ERA. I think Oklahoma State could be live in this matchup. It's probably going to need to be lower scoring for their offense to be able to take advantage of this starting pitching matchup and to get a win here. And that bullpen's totally fresh. They've played 2 uncompetitive games so far, whereas Georgia kind of went for it yesterday and put themselves a little bit behind the 8 ball potentially for this game against Oklahoma State. So I like the Pokes plus 145. I like the under in Oklahoma and Nebraska. I think there's capable starting pitchers on the mound. Both teams are known for their pitching depth, and that's kind of the strengths of these 2 teams. Top half in the NCAA tournament when it comes to bullpen ERA. Oklahoma with a very strong one, top 16 at 390, and Nebraska bullpen ERA of 4.72 is top 32 in this year's field of 64. So I like the under 12.5 with both offenses. They're not overpowering there. So under 12.5 in that matchup. And then I like the over 14.5 with Georgia Tech and Ole Miss. Both of these offenses in their first 2 games have been super live wire. They've put up 8+ runs in both. Murray State has completely torched both pitching staffs. So this is going to be a really super interesting matchup that I think could end up high scoring if both starting pitchers get knocked out around the 5th or 6th inning or something like that. So I'm expecting a lot of high scoring, a lot of it later on in the game. And give me the over 14.5 in Georgia Tech and Ole Miss. And then that leaves us with the parlay that I'm trying to make. I like Florida and I like Oregon State. So Florida is minus 270. Oregon State is minus 375. That puts it at minus 137. And let's put in Southern Miss at minus 298. It comes out to plus 131. Those 3 teams that I feel pretty strongly about being able to continue their momentum through the losers bracket. All of these teams kind of in revenge angle type games, all of them, playing a team that really kind of went for it early in their game in the night slate yesterday. And, shorter turnaround time. I think it's really advantageous to try to be able to take advantage of these teams in the spots. So in these spots, so Florida money line, Oregon State money line, Southern Miss money line comes out to plus 131. And that's going to wrap up today's show. I appreciate everybody tuning in live. We had a pretty good crowd for going live at 6 a.m. I'm going to get some rest here before the games begin. With that, I bid you adieu. You can follow me at Nobi77_. Like I already said, I'll be tweeting out whether we are doing a show or not. I'll be adding live bets, prior to those night slate games. So make sure you kind of have the alerts on if you're looking for action late night on Sunday. So, like I said, that's going to wrap up the show. You can follow the show at TCE on SGPN. And if I'm not here later on in the day on this platform with Johnny Venezzi, you'll be able to find me once again tomorrow for the handful of regionals that are going to a game 7. I will be here handicapping those for you guys as well. This has been the College Baseball Experience. You better start thinking about yours, and we are out of here.